So this is going to be another movie review. This one's called Steel Justice, 1987. This is going to be another Karate Man recommendation. Giving it 2 out of 5 stars. I dislike this one. Steel Justice is a 1987 U.S. action film written and directed by Robert Boris and starring Martin Kove, Cella Ward, and Bernie Casey. John Steele is a Vietnam vet who had trouble adjusting to life after the war. He hasn't been able to hold on to a job, which includes being a cop. When his best friend Lee, who also served with him in Vietnam and who also became a cop, was killed by some drug dealers he was investigating, Steele was able to save his daughter and saw one of the shooters. He later sees him and learns that he is the son of General Kwong, another person he served with in Vietnam who was running his own deals on the side and who tried to kill Steele and Lee, but Steele not only survived but thwarted his plan. Steele suspects Kwong is involved with Lee's death, but unfortunately Kwong's a respected member of the community. Steele's former boss, Bennett, is not in a rush to find the killers. Cause investigation reveals that Lee may have been dirty, which Steele knows is not true. Steele sets out to prove Lee's innocence and to get Kwong. So there you have it. There's the so-called plot. So basically, there are a lot of big name actors in this movie, a couple cool explosions, maybe one or two good one-liners from Martin Kove, then it kind of falls flat. And the fight scenes are pathetic in this one. A lot of familiar names here. When the police needed someone to stop the Vietnamese mafia, there was only one choice. You don't recruit John Steele, you unleash him. The only law is the Black Tigers. The only justice is John Steele's. All right. Those are the taglines. Janet Maslin of the New York Times had disdain for the film. Steel Justice isn't designed as a comedy, but it does earn high marks for inadvertent humor. Mr. Kove wears a Band-Aid across the bridge of his nose during much of the film, and it is by far the most expensive thing on his face. Maslin further commented, this is thanks in part to the writer and director Robert Boris, whose Oxford Blues was no laughing matter, but who this time has tried to meld Rambo and Miami Vice, throwing in a touch of Chippendale's Calendar. The last is evoked by the presence of Martin Kove, the big, burly, smirking fellow in the title role. Leonard Martin called the film a howlingly absurd action revenge yarn, while TV Guide wrote, unintentionally hilarious Rambo inspired action picture featuring the muscle-bound Martin Kove as John Steele, a Vietnam vet having trouble adjusting to post-war life in Southern California. So basically, Soon Tek-Oh, the guy who screams Braddock, he's doing the similar thing in the abandoned warehouse, or no, the loading dock. Excuse me. He's He's doing the same thing in his own loading dock, and I guess he stole some gold coin from the CIA. He was going to smuggle it back to the U.S. But Martin Kove stopped him in his tracks, threw a knife in his chest. Somehow he survived and became a respected member of the community while dealing drugs with his son, prostitution and extortion on the side. Uh, so Martin Kove is taking care of his ex-wife, the flat-chested Steele Ward, who was in a TV show called Sisters. And then you've got the very comely-looking Jangan Boyd as Cammy. She was in Electric Boogaloo and Assassins. A couple of canon-related films. And she refused to take her clothes off in Assassins. And Charles, even though it was in her contract, and Charles Bronson backed her up. So she didn't have to take off her clothes in Assassins. This was a big disappointment, especially with all the names in this movie. All right, Steel Justice, 1987, rated R, 1 hour 35 minutes. It gets a mediocre 4.9 out of 10, 895 ratings. Not too many people know about this movie, but I'm saying it's pretty tame. The action isn't that great. It's mostly a soap opera of Martin Kove taking care of his ex-wife and the very comely young Jangan Boyd. Steele is ex-cop and Vietnam vet who is determined to bring down Kwong, former South Vietnamese general and now rich and powerful drug lord. Here's a review on IMDb. From somebody named F. Markland 32. F. Markland 32 gives it a 5 out of 10. I'm giving it a 4 out of 10. F. Markland 32. Let's see. The review's dated June 18th, 2017, and the title of the review on IMDb is Heavy Metal. So F. Markland 22's rating of 5 out of 10 is actually closer to the average than mine is. A little bit more flattering, but still pretty mediocre. Martin Kove stars as Steele, Vietnam vet, ex-cop turned Rambo, meets Death Wish-esque Avenger, who declares a one-man war on the Vietnamese mafia to avenge one of his Vietnam War buddy's family and protect said buddy's daughter. Along the way, police detective Ronny Cox, military personnel, Joseph Campanella, and head cheese of the Vietnamese mafia, Soon Tek-Oh, all acquire the wrath of Steele. Vengeance, bad movie charm goes a long way with Steel Justice, because if you're not a fan of this genre, this flick is going to be rough going. And that's true with a lot of Karate Man recommendations, I might add. He calls them underrated. I say they're underrated for a reason. For me, I grew up with these movies and there's nostalgia involved. I don't think beyond that there's much else to the film. The action sequences are entertaining as opposed to well staged. Kove makes for a surprisingly likable, if bumbling, hero. There's a lot of bad movie charm to enjoy about Steel Justice. There is the infamous poison dart and frying pan scene, the fact that Kove has a poisonous snake as a pet, and he deploys, and the fact that the film is often funnier than most comedies, as the humor is so broad as to somehow be so stupid it's funny. Once again, it's a tough call as quality wise, it's sort of indifferently made. The bad guys don't really make sense. And the way everyone seems to know everyone in what appears to be a big city draws attention to how bad the script is. That said, Rambo ripoffs work in the same way Bruce Lee films as simple, absurd escapism. You know what type of person you are and whether you would watch such or not. I was not disappointed or bored to watch Steel Justice. 2 out of 4 stars. Fair. Okay. He's saying the action scenes are pretty decent. I don't know where he got that. Uh, seen that. It's with the Shannon Tweed, right? All right. Before Martin Kove crashes his truck into the Ku Trong Social Club, you can see a drive-in billboard showing the Karate Kid 2, also starring Martin Kove. After Harry shoots the truck with the bazooka, the shot from the front shows him with the protective face mask up. Yet the following shot from the back shows him with the protective mask down and him raising it to the upwards position shown in the previous shot. This was referenced in Riot on 42nd Street, 1987. Soundtracks Love Reunited, performed by the Desert Rose Band, written by Chris Hillman and Steve Hill, produced by Paul Worley. The music here is really bad. 80s pop music. All right. Release date July 9th, 1987 in West Germany. Country of origin US. Language English, also known as Justia de Acero. Production company Atlantic Entertainment Group. Gross US and Canada $1,327,740, and gross worldwide $1,327,740. So IMDb seems to be implying that there is no international box office, but at the same time, it's also known as something in Spanish, which is not the official language of US or Canada. All right, we've got runtime 1 hour, 35 minutes, 95 minutes. The sound mix is stereo and Dolby Digital, and the aspect ratio is 1.85 to 1. Now, moving down the list, we've got number 1, World Youth Day, Krakow, A Pilgrimage of Mercy, 2017. Number 2, History of the World, Part 1, 1981. And number 3, The Capture, 1950. So those are the next 3 coming down the pike. I did not enjoy this movie. I was expecting more action, less soap opera, more of more of Celia Ward and Jan Gan Boyd. But these 2 actresses never take their clothes off. What a bummer. Laters.